Alrighty, so welcome to week 9 in CIT 82, our last week of the semester. And in this case, I am recording this after the issue with Canvas. So you're going to have part of your discussion this week is actually going to be on your reflection about your thoughts about this. I know I have many thoughts about this, and I'll kind of go over them a little bit. But I'm interested too in your perspective. Like I'd been assuming, because I had been communicating on Discord to students that many students were on there, but I realized by Saturday, because I kept thinking the system was just going to come back, right? And when it didn't, it was like I didn't realize until Saturday that it wasn't going to be up until Monday, that I should have been sending messages to students. At that point, I'm like, I'm assuming the Canvas is doing, and this is where when you're in IT, right? Because I have been directors, I've been systems analyst, I've been systems engineer. I've done a lot of different jobs in IT. And part of what we do in IT, information technology, or your tech job, is we think about disaster recovery. And this couldn't be a more timely issue because I feel like this highlighted not only for Fresno City, not only for our district, but also nationally, how many people depended on a system that they really didn't have a good backup plan for, because hindsight is always 2020. You realize today what I would have done different. So let me just focus on that. Okay, so because it happened on a Thursday and we've now lost 4 days, right? So basically what I'm going to do is add 4 days to our calendar, because I already had set up, in week 8 where I had talked about the end of the semester, right? So I talked about the dates. So instead of Tuesday now, I'm moving the last day to submit late work, and I put this in an announcement that you've already gotten, but I'm just repeating it, or to use late passes. I'm going to extend that to that Saturday, right? So if you didn't see the announcement, make sure, right, you check it out. I'll probably have already sent another one, but Canvas is available. So I'm extending that from Monday right to Saturday at noon. Okay, so I'm attempting to give you 4 days back that you lost. But I understand also that's what's challenging about that is those 4 days are not necessarily based on your schedule 4 days, that you had planned around. So I'm just trying my best to give you what was taken from you. Okay, so, but in general, here's what I would say. Do your best, get this stuff done as soon as possible. I will not mark anything as late from the point that it happened until that Saturday. Once that Saturday comes around, the Saturday of the 23rd, like I told you a minute ago on the announcement, right? Just got to make sure the 23rd at noon, that's when I'll be putting anything that wasn't submitted as a 0. But anything that gets submitted between now and then, I will mark as on time. Okay, so that was my point. But I would do, if I was you, based on where we're at in the semester and the fact that I know, I'm not your only class that you have to take care of, get it done as soon as you can. That way you're not at that point of that Saturday and in the situation where you're scrambling to get the end done. Okay, so now let's talk about week 9. Okay, so in week 9, we have 3 normal Monday night items: a lecture, a great advice, the final sprint, and the roadmap. So I have you actually just work on your project 0 and get points for it and update your to-do, and then a we learn. And then you'll have the actual project 0. So part of what I want to do today is actually go over that. I actually want to go over the project 0, because there's nothing new added from when we talked about this a couple of weeks back. Okay, so you've reached the finish line for your project 0 for the class. Make sure your final code, once you submit, because you're not sharing this out like we've been doing, you're just submitting it to me to let me know you're ready for me to grade. And this is the idea that the sooner you submit something, if I find it, right, give you feedback, you can fix things. So again, waiting until late on Saturday the 23rd, when I've cut off at noon, it doesn't help you. So the sooner you can get, stick as close to the due dates is what I would suggest, as has been laid out. Okay, So verify that your live URL, right, your live server, your GitHub, right, your CIT82 GitHub IO /P0 is up and going, right? And then that's what you'll submit for this particular one, because you'll submit a URL and then you'll also grade yourself, okay? So now, and I'm going to go over what you want to think about when you grade yourself in this case, right? Did your site have exactly 12 pages of content and a site map, so a total of 13? Did you have 3 to 5 menu items that led to all your pages? So in this case, what I would look for is if you had all your pages on just one menu link, I would mark off for that, because you needed to have spread it. And I talked about this when I showed the 3 to 6, okay? I think 3 to 6 in this case, because I had a home and I had a contact, and those weren't really what I would say were they were menu pages, but they didn't contain subpages in them, right? So make sure you don't have just all your pages linked on one of your menu items. Is your index.html written by you? Okay. Does every subpage, right, and then every menu page have unique content? Okay, so you shouldn't use lorem ipsum, right? And you have to have a unique image, and each page has to have a unique title. Okay, so these are just a repeat of those requirements. Did your favicon show up on all pages? This is an assignment you're actually doing right now. Have I removed all the lorem ipsum content, if there was any, and the content, the template content, and the filler photos? So in other words, I should not see anything on, and here's what I would say, and I've said this before, if you have content that you're not using, then get rid of it off of the template, because I want to either update it or get rid of it. So if I see some, now photos, I guess I'm not as not as concerned about, but those photos need to be related to your topic. So make sure that's there. And then remember, you need your sitemap updated with a link to all the pages. I'll look at that. And do you have a link in just the index.html? Okay. So this is how that will go as far as grading. This is how I'll look at it. Remember, you can use, except for the index page, you can use Gen AI for content. You can use Gen AI for images. We talked about the whole digital wild, wild west, and how if you were doing a professional site, you would want to think about that. Okay, so then what you would do, you would submit. Now, you don't have to in this case, right? Because you can just, these requirements are not new. This is stuff we've been doing all along. They just have to be complete at this point. So I'm not even giving you a required commit, right? You might just, and this is where you start thinking about how to name things professionally. Like, make sure your commit message reflects the work that you did. Okay. Okay, so again, I'm not looking necessarily at that for this one. So is all your pages there? Does the navigation work, right? This is where on the item for this week where we posted your updates, this is where we can also help each other by looking at links. I don't know if I required a reply on that one, but be a good student, or be a good core citizen and help people out. Okay, so no filler, unique content, right? So all the pages need to have a unique content, meaning also a title, and that universal icon is there, and it's a clean and cohesive branding, meaning every page needs to have your template design. That's an important thing. You've selected this design, so every one of your pages needs to have that consistent menu, footer, and whatever else your template had. Okay. All right. So what you want to do here is submit your live, your CIT82 GitHub IO, your repo P0. Okay. And then in the comments, you want to grade yourself. What would you give yourself as far as grading? Did you meet all the requirements? If not, what did you miss? Now, that's what I'm going to go do. But I think I do this to help you go through and make sure you have the list. Okay, so that's what I wanted to start with for your week 9 as far as the content for the discussion. Okay, so let's now go in and look because I don't have much here that you need to do because there's videos for all the items that you have so far. I went over the project zero submission and grading. I talked about the extension of that late work. I'm allowing a longer time to submit work. If the work submitted from the point that Canvas went down until that date, I will not mark as late, but make sure I would do, and here, if you didn't hear me, my suggestion was stick as close as you can to the due dates I already covered in week 8. And here's the other thing: I'm not going to adjust due dates, but do your best to stick to them, but understand that extension. Okay, so here's what you need to do for this attendance: reply with your thoughts on the Canvas hack. Like, did you go do research? Maybe you thought it was just us and you saw other California and US and actually now international, how did you handle this? Right? What was your experience of this, right? So just, your thoughts on this. And then do a substantive reply for 20 points. Okay? All right, so thanks. And by the way, the thing I'd like to also say is thank you. Like this course, doing a complete rewrite this semester has been great for me, and I hope this has been an enjoyable class for you. I also welcome feedback here as well. I appreciate you taking this class. Without you, I don't have a job, and for that and so much more, I'm really grateful for that, and I really attempt to live up to the responsibility given to me and creating content that is something that you feel like has enhanced your experience, and that's my goal. So anyway, thanks so much, and come see me. Maybe hopefully I'll see you in a future semester. Maybe my CIT 85, or actually Rick Gomez's, or maybe CIT 28. Rick's also teaching that next semester. I'm teaching 93 and 82. I'm actually teaching this as well. All right. Have a great summer, and always know you can reach out if you ever have any questions. I'm always open to talking to students about their career paths and their career goals, or just connect, whichever.